Johnny Magic here at Hline Conversions. Well, actually it's e-charger systems. Today we're going to talk about the step 3. We showed you step 1, which was removing the body of the Humvee. Step 2 was installing the Duramax drivetrain in the Humvee, and of course today is step 3. Step 3 is kind of like an overview associated with what it is that we've done up to this point, and then also the additional items necessary to do before you install the body. So first off, of course, the engine towers that were supplied in the kit or on the vehicle, the engine setting in there, transmission mount, front drive shaft, which is supplied in the kit, it's all in there and stuff like that. Rear drive shaft's in there, exhaust is in there. All those things are already taken care of at this point. So, or in step 2. Now in step 3, some of the things that we've done is we went ahead and included the transmission cooling system, and this is kind of specialized to the Humvee. Normally, like an H1 Hummer, we do a little bit different, but in the Humvee, we have the luxury of utilizing some real estate in the back side of this. So back here, at the back of the vehicle, you will see that there is 2 coolers, and these are forced air coolers for the transmission. And the reason for that is the Allison's a big transmission, and of course this vehicle's light, but we've found out in some applications, you know, there is some temperature issues associated with the Allison. So we went over the top, and it's a dual cooler. It just bolts to the back side of this. It's plumbed in a T-style -10, GIC throughout, stainless braided, all the best, you know, ingredients and stuff like that. So, you know, this is part of that kit that'll come to you. The lines will already be cut. I've been trying to convince Tony to put the ends on there, but you know, he's like got his blood checked about 20,000 times putting these together, because stainless is rough putting those fittings together. So anyways, that's the transmission cooling system. Another modification necessary to support the Duramax into the Humvee is a fuel tank mod, and this is the same case for the H1 as well. But this normally is the feed line for the 6.5 that you take out. We turn this into a return line for the 6.6, and then we add a fitting and a new pickup tube, which is all 1/2 inch for the main feed line. So there's, you know, something that you have to do is normally this is the inlet or the feed line for the engine of the 6.5. This is return, and this is just a plug, which looks like this plug. So we take this plug out of this hole and put that plug in this hole. Take the fitting that's in there, the return out of there, and then you'll drill and tap the top of this and put in this type of fitting. Of course, this isn't the one. This isn't the version that you'll get in your kit. In your kit, you're going to get something that looks like this. It's all -10. It's got a bulkhead on it. It's already cut the length and stuff like that. But we will want you to pre-check. You know, make sure that this doesn't hit that plastic tank, because those tanks are all over the place on measurements, so sometimes you might have to shorten this up a little bit. But you'll have this bulkhead essentially in place of where this fitting is, like this, and you'll have a stainless braided line for the fuel line, which will fit onto that, and it'll already be pre-cut and stuff like that. That fuel line for the feed and the return are going to run from the tank across here along the electrical back up to these points right up here, and at this end we give you a push to connect, you know, type of fitting. This is the -6, and there's a -8 for this one here, to allow you to connect those new hard lines back to the fuel tank. So that's one of the things as far as the transmission side, and then we have the fuel side of the engine. And then up front, we have, at this point, you'll want to go ahead and install your new AC compressor. This is like your 90s style GM 6.5 turbo diesel pickup truck type of AC compressor. It works with the original lines or factory lines if you had factory lines on a Humvee, but you don't. So we went ahead and installed this on there anyways. Most likely, if you go with our aftermarket AC system, we'll supply you a different type of compressor for this application. but you know, this one doesn't have heat or air at this point, and he's not interested in it, but maybe he will be. But you know, so we've set it up just in case. Went ahead and installed our larger fan and clutch system on the vehicle. We've installed the lower pipe system that we offer, that we supply as well. This is a 2.5 to 2, you know, silicone CV clamped, goes into an intermediate pipe, has a 2-inch hump hose, goes into the final part, or the exhaust, or the back side of the radiator lower hose, which will connect to the radiator that will pop in here in a minute. You'll see over here it has the 3/4 and 1-inch barbs necessary to hook up the pressure tank, as well as the return for the heater hose, which, you know, we'll show you how to do that in a later date. So you have this first S pipe that is connected to the 2.5 to 2 that goes to the motor. Sometimes you have to cut these back and shorten them up, get them away from the drive shaft. Sometimes they're fine. You know, there's the 1-inch error in the Humvee or the H1 Hummer, you know, pretty much. You know, so it's kind of a custom fit, but we've given you that flexibility to be able to adjust it for your application. So now that we said that, we're going to go ahead and at this time we're going to go see if we can get one of the guys. Mark, can you? We're going to slip in this radiator. The kit does come with an aluminum radiator and intercooler. We got this mock-up. We're just going to walk you through, so show you how easy this is. Show you some of the things you want to accomplish by doing this. This is the, you know, the radiator with the fan on it, or the fan shroud, and you have the standoffs. Now, what you want to accomplish when you'll do this is you want to adjust. There's adjustability in the cooling pack, the radiator, and you want to adjust that so that we get the fan at the same level as the fan shroud. Stick the bolt in there. So essentially, it should look like something like this. And we'll just kind of hold it up, you know, and speed this process up. So it's not like watching paint dry for us trying to put a bolt in the hole. But okay, so now the fan should be dead center to the fan shroud. You're going to notice something. This fan does not fit in the fan shroud, and there's a good reason for that, because it's bigger. Secondly, we don't want the fan blade in the fan shroud. We actually want that fan blade back about, let's just say, somewhere between 1/4 and 1/2 inch if you're lucky. And that works super well, believe me. You'll never see a temperature issue with this thing at all, running it with that size of fan, because it is so much bigger. So now that you have that set, you can adjust all this, get it where it should be, tighten your bolts on your down struts, and tighten the one on the rear. So now we got the radiator installed. We'll start talking about in the next series the intercooler pack and the brackets associated with that and everything, and how the intercooler pipes hook up to the engine and all that good stuff. So at this point, we can go ahead and set the body down and show you kind of like what you need to look for as you do set the body down. Normally, if you're smart, which I don't think that we are a lot of times, because we forget this one little magic step. But before you take that body off, if you mark where the tires are setting on the ground, it makes it a whole lot easier to get that body back in line with the frame. So we went ahead and spent our day, you know, getting those two aligned, and we got it pretty close. So basically, you have your 2.5 inch body pucks. You eliminate the 1/2 inch spacer. These are actually 3 inch, by the way, but there was a 1/2 inch spacer from the factory that's set between the body and the isolator. Now we take that out, so that makes you an overall 2.5. And you'll notice we have the bolts holding in here. We're just going to drop this down and show you how easy it is. Normally these bolts would, you know, like on the left-hand front, go ahead and slip it in the hole, you know, the guide hole and stuff like that. The rest of them go in from upside down. So you won't have your bolts setting in top of your pucks, because of course you'll not be able to bolt the body on. But we're going to just do it like this so we can show you, drop it down and talk about some other things that you might have to do. So here we go. See what happens. It's always good to have a couple of spotters, just to make sure that nothing hangs up. You know, you don't bend something and cry about it later. We could write a book on that, I think, but here lately we've been pretty lucky about not damaging anything. But it always helps to have a bunch of people around seeing what's going on so that nothing does get damaged. So. Nice, slow, easy, fast. Good. Good. All right, so what you'll run into from time to time again is it is a Hummer, and it's been used as a Hummer. And throughout the course and scope of its life, it probably has a little bit of sag in the frame behind the front suspension. And what that contributes to is a very close tolerance to the firewall here as far as the pushback on it. So a lot of cases, you know, could you send the frame out and have it straightened? Yeah, you could, but really it's just going to go back where it is right now, and it probably is never going to move from where it's at because you're not going to be doing the same kind of things unless you're going to be airing this thing off in the sand dunes. So what we normally do is go ahead and do a relief cut along the firewall here, or at the top of the cowl. We'll just clip this piece out like that. That gives you plenty of air clearance for this inlet system. This inlet system is the heart and soul of making this thing breathe right. You have to have that flow dynamics necessary to support the turbocharger. Turbo's like a fan. You stand in front of it, it's going to speed up. You stand behind it, it's going to slow down. So you don't want to slow it down or speed it up or anything. You want it to do its job. So keeping this intake system open is very important. So make this relief cut if you need to. Then that will allow the body to go all the way down on the vehicle. Let's see, at this point, I think that's probably pretty much all that we want to cover in this session, because now, like I said, we showed you where the transmission lines get routed, where the transmission cooling system sets on the Humvee. We showed you the fuel lines and the routing and stuff like that on there. We reviewed of course, the engine installation and the exhaust system, all that kind of stuff. So pretty straightforward. At this point, you can go ahead and get the body down. You have those 6 body bolts that you took off in step 1. Go ahead and suck all those down. Make sure you use the lock nuts that come. The original lock nuts are the ones that are supplied. Either way, it doesn't matter. And get that bolted down. And then, of course, in our next, which will be step 4, we'll step into the more in-depth finalization of the installation of the kit. So, in all reality, I mean, it's taken us it's taken us longer because we're filming this and, McDonaldizing it by prepping stuff out. But, it would be pretty easy for us to do a total conversion, in a week with leisure. If you were in a real big hurry, yeah, you could do it faster. But I'm going to say it end user, just allow 30 days, work it on a weekend or whatever and type of thing, whatever. But anyways, Johnny Magic here at eCharger Systems, stage 3 of the Humvee Duramax engine swap. I hope you like what you're seeing or understand what you're seeing, or if you have any problems with what you're seeing, please let us know, because we want this to be as clear as possible so that others, whether they're mechanically inclined or not, would feel comfortable doing the Duramax, diesel swap in the Humvee, because it is truly very simple. We've taken and made all the complicated things easy. It's just all bolt in. Johnny Magic, eChargers.